So we are continuing to find the midpoint. Number 12, for the points P and Q, find the coordinates of the midpoint of the segment PQ. So just as we did before, let's go ahead and plot these. You don't have to do this. I'm just doing it for a visualization. But let's plot these 2 points and actually see visually what it is that we're doing. So point P is -2, -1. So right about there is P. Let's plot Q. So 3, 1, right about there. And now we are going to find the midpoint. So I don't know, we would expect somewhere around here. Let's see what ends up happening. And to use, or to rather define the midpoint, we're going to use the midpoint formula. So we have the sum of our x's divided by 2. That will give us the x coordinate of the midpoint. We're going to add or take the sum of our y's divided by 2, and that will give us the y coordinate of our midpoint. And let's go ahead and, so we stay organized, let's label our points x1, y1, x2, y2. Now, in the several videos prior to this, I've been labeling P as x1, y1, but just so that you can see, it doesn't matter which point we start labeling first as long as we're consistent, meaning if I let this be x1, then this has to be y1. And similarly, if we let this be x2, then this also has to be y2. I can't label this x1 and this y2, right? Whatever your subscript is, they have to match, right? So if we let this be x sub 1, then this has to be y sub 1 as well. We should still get the same answer. It doesn't matter what point we use first. So let's go ahead and take this information and plug it into the midpoint and see what happens. So our midpoint is equal to the sum of the x's. So in this case, 3 plus -2, which is the same thing as saying 3 minus 2 divided by 2. And then the y will be, again, the sum of the y's divided by 2. In this case, 1 plus -1, or that's the same thing as saying 1 minus 1 divided by 2. And so let's see what happens. Well, 3 minus 2 is 1, and then over 2. Here, 1 minus 1, well, is 0 over that 2. And then if we simplify, well, 1/2 can't be simplified, so it remains. But 0 over 2 we can rewrite as just 0. Remember, if you have 0 in the numerator of a fraction, no matter what's on the bottom, unless of course it's 0 as well, 0 over some number other than 0 reduces just to 0. So our midpoint then between the points P and Q is, again, just like number 11, 1/2 comma 0. So let's see where that ends up being. And 1/2 comma 0. So this time my line was pretty accurate the first go around. So our midpoint right there is 1/2 comma 0. All right, number 12 in the bag. Let's go ahead and take a look at number 13.